Guys, welcome back. Game number 5 for the IronSquid semi-final between Nestea and Gu. I never thought it would go to a game 5, but here we are.
And it's so interesting to see that the way it's panned out is exactly what the pre-game interview sort of implied. Nestea saying, I'm feeling a little unconfident, and Gu seeming very confident. We're seeing Nestea do a lot of those very early attacks to try to compensate for that sort of insecurity.
Yeah, and it's odd because considering that Nestea has actually gone for these very, very strong early attacks 3 games in a row, you would expect, a player of, or I would have expected a player of DRG's level here to slowly be adapting to it. But in game number 4, he actually just got crushed. He just got steamrolled. The bulldozer came along and tore apart all of his natural bit by bit. It was
well, I mean, it was this weird decision by Nestea. I mean, both players open up with the extremely strong hatch gas pool opening. Both players see that the enemies are doing that. So, of course, Gu begins cutting every corner on the planet to try to win in the mid-game. Again, I mean, in fact, the 2 games that he's lost in the series are exact straight corner cutting.
Yeah, and we'll have to see now as we jump in to game number 5 here. As we do have, spawning up to our northern position as our blue Zerg. He goes by the name of I Am Nestea.
And over in the bottom left side from Team MVP, also 1 game away from the finals, it is MVP DRG.
Let's see if he's able to have my prediction come true, or if Day 9 gets to keep all of his jelly beans. I don't know, as we have an early pull to kick things off, but we might have Nestea going for the same thing as well. This is like game 1 all over again.
Gosh, I mean, both players, what has that been, 4 of the 5 games?
Sure.
Extremely early pools. I mean,
it's important in ZVZ now.
Yeah.
Really important. Like, it's become such a mainstay in especially top-level Korean ZVZ that you can't ignore it. And especially on a map like Daybreak, where hatchery first was so common just a previous metagame iteration ago. These pools are very, very strong.
I mean, right now, we are literally seeing the repeat of game number 1. We are seeing the fast gas play from Nestea. We're seeing Gu throw out Lings right at the start from a very early pool as well. I mean, everything is just lining up exactly.
And for now, with this on the way, he is going to rally the Zerglings over to that location. And it looks like Baneling Nest is actually going down here as well for Nestea. So this is a very, very offensive build here. Ooh, wait, what? Oh, he saw the Lings coming from DRG, so knew it wouldn't actually work.
Wow, this is a wacky spot. Nestea building queen number 2. Huh. And this is straight up looking like the early beta.
Yeah, it's looking like a very, very aggressive 1-base situation here, as both players have to really kind of eke out small advantages, small edges here to deal with what they can see. But there's so many Lings on the way for DRG right now. Unit counting station, we have, well, currently 12 Lings out for DRG to just the 6 Lings of Nestea. He has to make just a few more, but he does have that defensive advantage of that queen.
Yeah, I mean, the double queen defense shuts down tons of 1-base pressures. So right now we're seeing basically the oddness that we saw in game 1, even though it's not an exact replica of game 1. It's that same theme of, wow, we both started with a really aggressive opening, and now we have to figure out some way to worm our way to the mid-game. Nestea looks like he's going to be taking the first forays into that by throwing down his expansion, but Gu leads in supply, and again, 24 doesn't sound that much larger than 20, but if you think about it right now, that's what, 25% more stuff.
I guess that's one of the great advantages of the matchup in general being ZVZ. They can always spot with their overlords where their opponent's Lings are going, so they can take their expansion a little easier. Because Nestea saw that his opponent's Lings were all moving back to his base, so he takes his expansion from that point on. And with that, well, we don't have an expansion going down just yet for DRG. Ah, there we go. He is on the way.
Oh, this is such an odd spot. I mean, just look at the unit counting station. We see that MVP DRG has a lot more lings, 16, but they're slow. So this means Nestea can position his Zerglings optimally until Dongregu runs out of slow ling time. This means optimal scouting for Nestea. He does have to build that one single spine crawler, but there's a lot of preparation time Nestea's going to have now that he has the larva advantage.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of actually him keeping a lot of the lings actually at his opponent's third. He really, really wants to know when his opponent's third is going to go down. That's so important. Both players are on the way to their baneling nests, and again, both just keeping it in their mains here, so they have the potential to be quite aggressive with it. Just runs away for now.
Oh, there's Dongregu flooding with the Zerglings. Looks like Dongregu is going to take the same aggressive steps that we saw in Game 1. He's going to be charging the front 4 or 5 banelings in that initial attack. I mean, look at that. 3 drones in the gas geyser. Nestea's going to try to sneak into the main. Oh, he gets 1 Zergling into the main base. Oh, no! It looks like the plans are all going to be revealed. Nestea knows what he's up against. May even build an extra spine himself.
Yeah, that was really important because now, if Nestea doesn't start lings right now, and indeed he will do, he would have been so much lava behind in terms of the Zerglings that he wouldn't have been able to recuperate the losses in terms of actually dealing with the aggression. It would have been a massive flood of army where he just wouldn't have had anything.
Oh no, here it comes. Dongregu flooding with all the lings, sending them up. The banelings are not yet quite done, and there. Oh, how did Dongregu get out of that spot? And now we see Dongregu charging his way up. A big trade of the banelings, and now Dongregu gets what he's been looking for. All attack long, a chance to pick off a lot of drones. He gets only 4, but still, that's going to be enough to really help MVP's DRG step back into the lead.
Yeah, and I mean, from there, it looks like... how many queens do we have out for both players? There's still the 2 out for both players, so not too much of lava advantages on either side, just the fact that Nestea had a little bit more extra coverage that is natural in terms of the distribution of drones. It's just going to be a little bit of a tug of war for now. Both players stabilizing relatively evenly.
I mean, in Game 1, it took till the 11-minute, 30-second mark for both players to say, you know what? I think I'm done attacking. I want to start growing my Zerg base. Going to play SimCity for a little bit. And in this game, it looks like that's beginning at around 8 or 8:30, where we see once again the double geyser from from Nestea at the expansion. But I think that this would be a horrendous position for Nestea to try that 3 geyser Roach Baneling Ling all in.
You know, I think he's going to do it again. I mean, well, he's getting his evolution chamber.
Oh my gosh, thank goodness.
Well, he's getting a lot of Zerglings as well, though. But the evolution chamber is obviously that big indicator that he won't be doing that at this point. I don't think he would really want to risk it too much on, you know, a massive all-in. But both players are getting equal amount of lings here, so they're just going to like meet in the middle and clash against one another and kill each other off. It's going to be a bit weird.
I mean, this is an excellent timing after you've gotten your gas geysers up. To do one more flooding round of lings, because once you have enough drones to be able to have 3 in all your up geysers, you make a round of lings. If your opponent was trying to be too greedy or fast with the tech, you automatically get a huge dent in his productivity. If you can't end up making that dent because he made a lot of defense, then no problem. You've already accumulated enough gas to have a solid transition, albeit it might be slightly slower. But so now comes the big micro war, and it looks like Nestea is in. Oh no! Oh my gosh! A weird exchange. Nestea's lost a lot of lings, but all the banelings from Dongregu are lined up nicely. Nestea could do a huge blow, and that is exactly what Nestea needed.
And Nestea's got a lot of baneling kills for his troubles, but a ton of lings actually sneak up into the main. They're going to try and focus down something. Go for the harvesters if they can do. That's a pretty good shot. But meanwhile, Nestea catch some Zerglings at the front of the base of Nestea.
I mean, this is an odd counterattack, but it looks like all the lings get annihilated in the main base as Dongregu was distracted. MVP DRG has 11 workers killed under his belt, but still, the supply counts are even, 54 to 50.
The layer is now on the way for Nestea as well, whilst we have the Roach Warren going down for DRG. Will these 2 banelings be able to do much? The answer is no. Wow. Just a few Zergling kills for their troubles. And, you know, well, Nestea holds on. He advances on with the tech, and as such, he technically will be ahead in that regard, but, you know, he needs to catch up just that little bit in terms of the drones, which he is doing with 8 drones.
Wow, going to the unit counting station is a little bit stronger of a status report at this point in time. Both players have about the same amount of drones, about the same amount of lings, and the really only edge we see in production. Nestea has that lead in the +1 attack, but only by a smidge. Nestea is going to make yet another attack attempt, absorbing some initial hits, and not too successful.
So much Ling Bane aggression in this series, which
yeah, gosh.
I haven't been able to actually see this much of for quite a while. It's
right. Most people just say, "Oh, look, I'll build 2 Banelings," and then, "All right, listen, fine, I'll totally go mid game along with you."
Little gentlemanly agreement, white gloves and all. It's for now. Does look like he's going to try and sneak around here once again, just battling in between all the Banelings as well there. DRG playing very, very risky with the Lings.
That's like playing some rock, paper, scissors among the recently fallen and bitten dead in a zombie world.
That's true.
Like having those Banelings about to hatch, are you crazy?
Some scary stuff, man. Some scary stuff. And now, whoop, well, Banelings for Banelings, Ling for Baneling, and dancing around with Lings. As this is ZVZ. Both players have lost just so similar amounts here. It's crazy.
This has been a very back and forth game. Again, one of the reasons why you like to flood Lings once your gas is in a good spot. You get the opportunity to make a poke at a third base, and it looks like Nestea won't be able to take it out, but more than happy to exchange a few Lings to eliminate all the Banelings of Dongregu. So now as we're approaching this mid-game phase, there's another odd timing moment that ends up popping up, which is whoever ends up with the earlier speed of roaches. With both players having that strong Overlord placement, generally, you would say with standard Zerg theory that these players should be favoring the Infestor production. That's exactly what we see from Nestea. Dongregu and Nestea both are doing a little teensy poke with just a couple of roaches just to make the other guy defensive.
Yeah, and this is all really third-centric. It's so important to try and do a little bit of damage at your opponent's third on this map. It's because if they end up establishing on that location, then they can sit on 6 gas guys for an extremely long time so happily. Lings and roaches are going to push in. They kill off 1 spine crawler, as maybe 1 or 2 roaches at the top, but still, DRG is well on top of this. He's going to clean this up, push it back. And Nestea, well, he has his third up and running, but there was an Overseer that saw all of that, so DRG knows what's going on.
I mean, all of what Nestea is really doing are these strong either-or plays. Either my opponent was powering too hard and I kill him with this attack, or he's doing about the same thing I'm doing and I get to see it. Seeing those roaches for Nestea is just as important as getting to kill off just a couple of things. But wow, Dongregu, again, flooding roaches at an odd time instead of building infestors. Dongregu really doesn't have any infestors on the field. He's hoping he can deal damage with this roach attack, but just like we saw in Game 1, the player with the infestors has much better defensive capabilities.
Nestea there, pushing it back quite handily with those fungals, not doing too bad for himself at all. +2 weapons. He said on the way for both players. Burrow being added on, so important in ZVZ. And just so many drones coming out here for Nestea. Nestea is basically just saying, I am going to go up to 70 or 75 drones, and then from that point on, make nothing but units. And that's a position that if you can get to before your opponent is a very, very scary thing for them to deal with, unless DRG can split up units everywhere and do some economical damage.
Yeah, but all the while, we're seeing that Dongregu got to start his 4th base a little bit earlier, just due to the fact that Dongregu had 65 drones a little earlier than Nestea. Nestea's focusing a touch on attacks. At this point in time, both players have nearly identical all the things. They're taking the easier to defend 4th base, where they have a little bit less. It's not just less ground to cover, but it's also less vision to cover to be able to defend all of these very, very effectively. Taking the corner base can be sometimes a little tricky to figure out where exactly to place all your overlords to have a good sense of everything. Nice little burrow by Nestea.
Yeah, not too bad, saving that queen. Nestea keeping a good eye on his opponent's army, seeing exactly what's going on, but I think in turn, his opponent's also keeping a good eye on his.
Yeah, transitioning to Hydralisks. All that which should be expected. Holy cow, there are a ton of infestors for Nestea chilling at the front.
Yeah, looks like there's 10 to 7 or 8 even right now. This carapace starts up for both players, but Nestea's actually transitioning onto his Hydralisk then very, very quickly here. He's going to push in, though, as and DRG trying to do quite a bit of damage. A lot of infested Terrans for both sides here. I think he has to pull back. I think, you know, there's too many infested Terrans there for Nestea.
But it's unclear what really went down in that attack. I mean, obviously it evened things out a bit, but is DRG ahead or behind in that situation? In the unit tab, we see that there's overall more infestors for Nestea, but he had to use almost all his energy to be able to stay alive in that attack. He basically has a number of dry infestors at this point.
Yeah, I wonder what the energy level is for DRG's infestors. If we could just quickly take a look at that. Where have they gone? They've disappeared somewhere.
There's a little bit more energy, but
he only has 5 in comparison to the 10. So
yeah,
both players relatively even in that in regard to the energy, but not by any means. Nestea just needs to recuperate the losses on those energies, and he's even ahead in terms of his tech towards the Hydralisk. So Nestea right now is actually in phenomenal shape here to, you know, transition very, very nicely onto that maxed out army and start putting on some pressure on DRG if he's not careful.
This is a really interesting time in this matchup. You have essentially you have to take a fifth and sixth base. Obviously, the corner base is an important base to be taking. But then the question is, what is the next step for these players? DRG's doing these excellent little tiny pokes, doing just a little bit of damage. 3, 4 roaches here and there. Those are going to be replaced by Hydralisk. But no, can he get a full energy infestor? Taking that down. A big win right there for DRG.
Very, very nice little trade there. As for now, we still have, well, Nestea's keeping an eye on DRG with his changelings, etc. We have the Hive now morphing in as well. Nestea moving out. He's maxed out. He knows that he can actually go for trades at this point. He has his 4th base economy up and running. He has his 4th gas geysers.
Oh my gosh, he is going for it. He is going for this push right here and now. The concave, unclear who it favors, but the fungals at the north side of the engagement are critical. As of right now, DRG has thrown down excellent defense up at the north side. The Hydralisk of DRG are just trading with these roaches. Both players are not really getting an advantage out of this. They both have near perfect engagement control. A couple more units are falling right now for Nestea. DRG's Hydralisk doing some serious work, but still not a big lead for one player or the other.
One of the really nice things there for DRG in terms of going up against Nestea in ZVZ there was that Nestea threw down all of his infested Terrans instantaneously, all in one big clump, and then 2 fungals actually locked that down for a more efficient energy trade for DRG's point of view than Nestea. So DRG got a way better engagement in the grand scheme of things as he just pulled back a little bit, killed off the infested Terrans, waited for everything else to settle, and then continue on from there.
At this point in time, it's significant to note that DRG, who's going to take the top left expansion, must focus on taking the top center expansion. That is so important for DRG. And likewise for Nestea, Nestea wants to take the bottom center expansion. Controlling that expansion for each respective player is the best way to get a 6th base up that minimizes the amount of places you need to defend. If for some reason DRG took this top left and then went for the bottom center expansion, that means that DRG would have like 1,000,001 attack angles. He'd have to defend the top left, his center base from 3 angles, and of course the bottom base from 2 angles. So now, as both players are taking up to Hive and things are slowing down, not only is this the perfect Game 5 to decide who advances on, but also it's all going to start boiling down to that top and bottom expo.
Yeah, you're right there. It's so important to expand in the correct directions here, and we now have that greater Spire morphing in for DRG. This can get a little bit dicey, but Nestea behind it does have his Spire on the way. He has his Hive as well as throwing down a few Spine Crawlers in that middle map just to create himself a nice defensive position. So this game is going on for the long haul. They are going to get to those Broodlord compositions, and it gets crazy from that point on when you have Broodlings versus Broodlings.
You know, I do want to note, any Terran or Protoss player watching is thinking they're getting Broodlords. That unit is way too strong. That's gonna end the game right then and there. In Zerg vs. Zerg, the Broodlords don't nearly have the same weight. In fact, a lot of Zerg players get to Hive, and they just get +3 attack. and +3 armor and continue to go Hydra Infestor Roach.
What I find amusing in ZVZ, Broodlords versus Broodlords, is because you never really get melee weapons, you just, in the mid-game, go for range and carapace. You get Broodlings nibbling each other with +3 carapace each, but no shield, no weapons. So they're just nibbling at each other forever and never really killing off one another, just very, very slowly tickling at each other.
I know, it's
weird.
It's like a bunch of, it's like some front in World War I, but no one has weapons or arms or teeth. They just run at each other and headbutt one another to death. It's extremely entertaining to watch, but no one really gets an edge in those broodling versus broodling fights.
Creates a very, very strange wall as we have another Spire on the way here. So DRG with a second Spire, he's saying he wants double upgrades, which is preparing for the super late ZVZ.
Yeah.
Whilst we have DRG and Nestea even only having one Spire out right now. And sometimes if you commit to double upgrades, you can find yourself in a really odd spot where the person just going for one can shut it down really hard because they just have more Broodlords. And
as you go into what I like to call the post-late game, after you're ending up with all those Broodlords up, the Lings then become an incredible asset because you're so spread out, because there's so many vulnerable locations, the speed of the Lings, and also the fact that you're spending all your gas on the Broodlords, you need some way to deplete your mineral supply in a useful fashion. So upgrading +1 melee attack, upgrading the adrenal glands. This is the sort of standard throwaway roaches in profitable fashions to free up supply.
Yep. Useful stuff as we have now those 13 Corruptors on the way. A second Spire does start for Nestea, so he's also preparing for the super late double upgrades game here. As this is just going to get strange. It gets really odd when Broodlords versus Broodlords go for that super late game. It can take a very long time for anyone to really budge.
Oh my gosh, Nestea's only started his first 2 Broodlords now. However, 11 Corruptor lead for Nestea. This is actually quite smart. You don't need to have a huge lead in Broodlords if your opponent doesn't have that many to begin with. 7 is manageable in this matchup. Now starting the preliminary engagements, it's just going to be all those energy-based units, Broodlings, Infested Terrans, pure defense. Can the Observer computer handle it in this battle?
Oh my god, there's so many Infested Terrans and Hydralisks.
And there's the Corruptors stepping into the fray. These are the ones that are going to absolutely annihilate this Air Force. We're seeing countless Infested Terrans from both sides. Can Nestea keep that Corruptor lead? You betcha right now. It is 5-2. And it looks like 11 more Corruptors in the fray. Look at that concave from Nestea. Oh my goodness, the Hydralisk count 17. He's going to be able to blast through. Nestea locks it down. DRG forced to retreat and replenish with Roach Hydra.
And the Hydra's trying to chase one down, get one Broodlord for their troubles there. Nestea just had, well, DRG had nothing on the ground to support his units. So all the while, Nestea's army in the back was just digging away slowly but surely at the army of DRG. It forces him back. He's still up in terms of supply, yes, but for the most part, this is still very, very even. Both players mining from equal bases, happily.
As we check the, I guess I would say the mana supply, the energy on those Infestors, we see that Nestea's certainly very, very low, only has maybe a couple hundred Infested Terrans as opposed to a couple thousand. But in all honesty, DRG probably has about twice as much energy, and this is the exact kind of attack that he needs to make. He is guaranteed to deal some significant blows down in that bottom right side, but right now, I think Dong Regu is going to regret this engagement. Unless he can pick off all those Corruptors, it's about to be a massive loss on the front line of DRG.
Yeah, those Hydralisks might be worth repositioning themselves up to the north there as the Roaches push forwards, trying to kill off a lot of the ground-based army there of Nestea. They do kill a lot of it off, and he gets the base down to the bottom right-hand corner. That's a stinging blow there for Nestea.
And I think that Dong Regu's finally starting to say, oh my gosh, I might actually win it. I might actually be going to the grand finals, but you have to push those thoughts out of your head right now, because any moment you get a little overeager is the moment that you can easily lose that game. Dong Regu's Good old assault pack of roaches doing so much damage down the bottom right and killed off that base. Now working at the third. 30 workers total eliminated this game.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying at the very beginning of the series. This is what we were saying in terms of conflicting styles that could occur quite easily. This is what DRG does best. He just goes for these small packs of roaches. They're at the bottom trying to harass that fifth base, once again trying to go down. And we have a few roaches here for Nestea trying to deal some damage, but they haven't quite done as much economical damage as DRGs have.
Gosh, it's a pair of roaches versus a pair of roaches in the bottom side. And it looks like Nestea is going to try to sneak another roach force up to try to pick off the Spire Tech. Nestea's just waltzing right on in. No, he's actually going to the third base, saying, hey, DRG, you just killed a bunch of workers at my third. That's a great idea. I'm going to go do that. Heads on up. Looks like he will get maybe only the queen in this engagement. Not too profitable.
Especially considering that both players banking up around 40 lava right now. You can guarantee that's not going to be going into crazy link production or anything. It's going to be going into those bigger meteor units like the roaches, hydras, corruptors, etc. And, well, that was nice.
A rather rarely used contaminate.
Limiting those upgrades. Both players know right now that they're going into that double Spire production in terms of the upgrades. So any little advantage they can eke out in terms of getting better upgrade, quicker upgrades is so important here.
Yeah, I'm loving this +1 Carapace from DRG because, again, you look at his money and it's starting to get pretty high on the mineral side. Obviously going to be spending about even resources getting out Broodlords. But all that leftover money can then be thrown into some swift lings. DRG going for another attack down at the bottom right. Same thing that we saw last engagement. Attack at the bottom right while he pushes in the middle.
This is what Nestea should have been doing as well. He should have been hitting at the expansion of his opponent with roaches that is most profitable to his opponent. He was hitting his opponent's natural, which is almost mined out and not really any point to it. And this is why we see such a great bank for DRG now in comparison to Nestea, because he hit his opponent where it hurts, in the wallet.
Yeah, and Nestea, though, is doing this smart defensive play. He's saying, I'm not going to attack you at all. I'm going to chill. Now the Broodlord lead does lie with Nestea. 8 Broodlords out, but the Corruptor lead lies with DRG. So we're seeing Nestea sort of make up for that. And I do like Nestea's overall composition a little bit better because it's basically Infestor Broodlord.
Yeah, it's a scary composition to go up against. And how well will it fare against what we're seeing here with a lot of those hydras?
Where are the Corruptors? Where are the Corruptors for Nestea? He has to get all his Corruptors up to the top side. He's focusing on getting as many of his Infestors up to the north to maintain that air advantage as he possibly can, and now we're starting to see the lines of infested Terrans get thrown out. You can even see in the bottom right, Nestea's hitting that T button like crazy. And there, as we see this engagement unfolding, the Broodlord count remains high for both players, but 8 are now out for Dong Regu. Nestea has to reposition up at that north side, and DRG is slowly breaking through, and he's killed off the bottom right base with his extra pack of roaches.
Very, very nice trade indeed. It's still going on in the middle, though, here. Those Infestors will potentially have to pull back for now. Broodlord still raining down a lot of havoc, though, on those infested Terrans, but it's just free units for free units at this point, as the Infestors did already run away for both players, pretty much to a little bit of a ground of safety, but now stepping into the fray once again. A lot of Broodlords going down here for Nestea. Not many left here for Nestea at all, in comparison to what we're seeing for DRG.
Oh my gosh, Dong Regu's actually broken through, and he's starting to work away at the 4th base, and that means that Nestea is going to be almost dead out of money. Nestea was researching those ventral sacks, was trying to get ready to get some sort of edge, but no, Dong Regu has been slowly chipping away at Nestea, getting little advantage after little advantage, and now it's just a matter of numbers. 190 supply for DRG versus 150 for Nestea.
And again, there were so many small little aspects in those engagements. And DRG, once again, throwing down... Whoa, well, those Infested Terrans are going to die off pretty quickly, with a lot of Infested Terrans here for DRG as well. But he understands the importance of just locking down a big chain fungal on, you know, some Infested Terrans because it's more cost efficient in terms of the energy. And then from that point on, he has great upgrades. 3-3 is going to finish so soon to complement those Broodlords.
3-3 is done in a matter of seconds. DRG with Assassin, Predator, Ravager, Broodlords doing so much damage. There is the final defense from Nestea as he hurls out as many Infested Terrans as he possibly can. Zergling counterattack at the far top left expansion for Nestea. I don't know if it's going to be enough. There's spines, there's defense up at the top left, and in the 3rd base, we're seeing DRG just waltz straight into Nestea's main.
His 100 supply up. Nestea completely on the ropes. Nothing in production. Very, very little he can do at this point. Just trying to keep his infestors alive where he can. If only there was an overseer here for someone to actually be able to spot those. But DRG just ripping up all the infrastructure here of Nestea. Nestea down and out. Very, very well played by DRG here.
DRG just swarming the front. In the top left, we see the blue Zerglings are still doing some damage, picking off a decent amount of drones, doing little burrow tactics. DRG protecting those Banelings. DRG, even though he's very clearly close to winning, still not going to let a single advantage slip.
Not at all. He's even trying to re-expand down to the bottom right-hand corner. Nestea does not want to give up at all. He knows that with all of those infestors burrowed, if he can just accrue energy, then they can still be useful. But I don't think they'll be able to ever kill that huge, huge army that DRG still has, as well as the massive bank that he has for himself.
Looks like there's not even enough energy for Fungal with the Unburrow. It's all going to come down to these infested Terrans for Nestea. But here coming the Broodlords, swinging down with those Broodlings. And there's the good game. DRG goes to the finals.
Well, there you go. There you have it. DRG. Again, I didn't expect it to go to a Game 5. Nestea fights valiantly. Nestea fights against a very strong opponent, an opponent that he didn't have a huge amount of confidence against, and takes it to the very end.
You know, Dongray Gu, maybe a year ago, 9 months ago, was the new Zerg kid on the block, showing up everyone. And a new player has that title. Startail Life is the Zerg player who was unheard of just a few months ago and has just come back and is now winning everything. Now it's the chance for Dongray Gu to say, hey, Life, I'm the real Zerg King. I grabbed that title a year ago. I'm the one who deserves to keep it. Life's going to have to really step it up. Dongray Gu played brilliantly after having those really brutal losses.
Yeah, that's true. I think... do you ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
I want to give whatever answer will have you tell me this story.
It was basically just an analogy on, I was thinking, well, there you go, there's Dongray Gu, your victor for this series, but I'm thinking Nestea is like not actually Fat Majin Buu, but he's like that version of him. And then we have Life, who's like Kid Buu, and then there's Dongray Gu, who's like that grown-up kind of lean Majin Buu. But anyway, I guess you don't get it if you never watched Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, but I'm still glad you bring it up because it's probably like that.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Dongray Gu, I mean, you can see the complete shift in his body language. Just in between sets 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, you just saw him slouching in the chair, lean back, sort of resigned, and now there he is. You see that relief just written all over his body.
And you know, that does it for our semifinals. That's well, it's been an epic road already, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean the crazy styles of Marine King Prime, the crazy styles of Nestea, and the solid long form play of Life and Dongray Gu. We now see it as a Zerg vs Zerg final. Life going up against Dongray Gu in the 3rd, 4th place match. It is going to be Marine King Prime going up against Nestea, a match that no doubt all of you want to watch at least as much as I do, which is tons. I'm super pumped to be able to check that out. But of course, after this, we will be watching the show match between Todd and Sarens in Heart of the Swarm.
Yep. And before all of that, we're going to send it over to a commercial break, guys. So we'll be right back with some more IronSquid action very soon.